Cinderella has to have hope that her situation will eventually get better. The other day I was watching Cinderella and I thought of something. Cinderella, this movie right here, and the animated version, the original one from Disney, especially these ones, also any version of Cinderella really, is an allegory for the Christian struggle, for Christian life. It blew my mind, so I'm going to share it with you because I started thinking about it and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I was like, oh my goodness, Cinderella, a princess movie, one of my favorite princess movies, by the way. I actually think I like it a little better than Beauty and the Beast, but shh, don't tell my sister. So, Cinderella. Cinderella, she's born into, especially in the live action, she's born into a loving family. Her parents love her. She has like a perfect life. But then her mother dies. And her father, to do what he thinks is best, marries Lady Tremaine. And then he has an untimely death and Cinderella is left alone. And it's not long before Lady Tremaine and her daughters take advantage of poor Cinderella and she's put in terrible circumstances. Like, in this life, we often have to put up with things and circumstances that we wouldn't choose, things that we don't exactly like. We can choose to like rebel against the things in our life and fight and scream and yell and just rah. Or we can say, I'm going to put up with what's in my life and I'm going to have hope that someday it will get better. I'm going to have hope. That's what Cinderella does. She keeps hope. And she keeps having the hope. We have to have hope in our lives that heaven is real and that we can attain it. Cinderella has to have hope that her situation will eventually get better. So the struggle for Cinderella is difficult. Lady Tremaine and her daughters take advantage of her and do all they can to stand in Cinderella's way and to continually remind her and put her down, tell her she's nothing, she has no one cares, she will never be enough. Doesn't that sound like what the devil does to us too? He's constantly reminding us, you're a terrible person, you don't know anything, no one loves you, you're all by yourself, no one cares. How many times do we hear that? Like, especially me, I hear that all the time, that I'm not good enough, that I'll never be enough, that no one really cares. And that's what the devil does in our lives. And in Cinderella, Lady Tremaine and her daughters take on that role of putting Cinderella down in all of her circumstances and making her feel absolutely terrible. But Cinderella, without even knowing it, she meets someone who happens to be the prince, but she doesn't know it. And this person helps give her some hope. Just a simple conversation, nothing really deeper, like philosophical or anything like that. Just a conversation starts to slowly bring her hope back up. And she learns that he works in the palace, as he tells her, and she goes, see, there's hope. There is hope. And she holds on to that hope. And she tries not to give up, but that little conversation with one person gives her hope. So in a similar way, we encounter people in our lives and we encounter all these hardships and stuff just feels terrible, but then God helps us out. Without knowing it's him, it could be a random stranger, a friend, a family member. Somebody gives us a kind word, a smile. They say hi, or they just say thank you, or they open a door for you. Something that starts to give you hope again, that you know you might be worth something, that someone cares. Someone who doesn't even know you said hi to you. Someone who doesn't know you opened a door for you. Someone you've never met before said thank you. And that's important because it starts to give us hope again. Midnight, you're in the way. So it starts to give us hope again that life can get better, that it isn't all you're terrible. It starts to break the devil's spell, the devil's curse on us, kind of, that he keeps telling us that we're not enough, but then we start seeing things in life that tell us you are enough, you have hope again. Like Cinderella met the prince without knowing it was the prince, and he started to give her hope because he treated her like she was a person instead of like an object, the way Lady Tremaine and Lady Tremaine's daughters have been treating her in the house, which is so, so important. So then things don't always get better though. Things can seem to get better for a little bit, but then Cinderella's denied the going to the castle to see her friend that she had met in the woods. She knows he works at the castle. She wants to see her friend. She doesn't know he's the prince at this point. She just wants to go, and Lady Tremaine and her daughters don't let it happen. They get in her way. They ruin the gown that she put so much work into just so that she could see her friend, the one person who had given her hope. Like, Satan tries to get us down as well. Like, our situation, we start to get hope, and then everything starts to reinforce to us that we're not enough. That's Satan telling us, you know, you can't do that. I'm going to tear you down. And Satan does that all the time. And it's so easy to just give in to that and to give up and just say, fine, I don't deserve anything. I'm just going to sit here and cry all the time. And sometimes that happens. Come on, Cinderella got really down. She's at her worst. She's ready to give up hope. And then a miracle happened. Her fairy godmother showed up and starts to give her hope again, restores this hope, and Cinderella gives her a way to get to the ball and helps her feel important again. This is what happens in our lives too. Sometimes people or situations will enter our lives to give us hope again, to help us feel like we really belong again, like we're where we're supposed to be, that we matter to somebody. It could be a family, friend, a stranger. Somebody helps restore hope in us and helps us on the road to heaven to know that we're not alone, we matter, we can do it. And so Cinderella goes to the ball. She has the time of her life. She realizes who the prince is, that he is the prince. And she starts to hope maybe everything can be all right. Maybe there can be a happy ending, and she starts to enjoy it. But then, oh no, it's midnight and she has to return to the real world. The spell's wearing off. So she goes out and her life starts coming back and happening, and it's not so easy. But this part of Cinderella, when she's at the ball and life seems perfect and wonderful and she can take on the world in her mind, like it's gonna be okay. Well, that reminds me a bit of Mass. Like when I go to Mass, we see and receive the body, blood, soul, and divinity of our Lord Jesus Christ. We don't just like see an image, we literally receive Jesus into ourselves. And at that time, it's like, sometimes I feel like I could take on the world at that point. Like, yes, I will stand up for faith no matter what. I will be a martyr. Like, you get really fired up with your faith because you're there. You're like, I love it. I love this. I will do this forever. I can't wait to get to heaven. You're so set on the path. You can do anything. And then Mass ends and you have to leave church and go back to the real world. So Cinderella leaves behind a shoe. What do we leave behind? Sometimes we leave behind our hope in that church. We leave behind something that could help us, that we leave behind some of ourselves sometimes. Like, I've seen people go into church sad and they're okay in church, and then it's time to leave and they get sad again. They leave their hope at the church, and we shouldn't do that, but sometimes we do. So the prince stops at nothing to find Cinderella. He will literally tear the kingdom apart to find the one that he has fallen in love with. His heart has been given to this random girl. He doesn't even know who she is, but he will do anything to find her because he loves her. Well, Jesus already did everything for us. He gave himself up on the cross for us. He died for us. That's pretty impressive. And he's not going to stop trying to bring us back to himself because he loves us enough to die for us. That's utterly amazing when you really start thinking about it. So in Cinderella's situation, Lady Tremaine locks her in the attic, tries to do everything to keep the prince from finding her, really just does everything she possibly can to keep the prince from finding Cinderella, because if he can't find her, he'll give up, right? And he'll maybe marry one of her daughters. That's her thought. Well, in a similar way, the devil tries to keep us isolated from Christ. The devil tries to tell us that, well, Christ isn't going to find us, we're not going to find him. Tries to keep us isolated enough that we start to doubt everything again. That we start to fall back into that whole spiral of, I'm not good enough. No one cares. I never was good enough. What was I thinking? It brings up all the regrets. So in the end, we all know Cinderella wins her prince. She gets the kingdom. That's pretty awesome, right? So how does it end for us? Well, in the end, we're going to win. We're going to win the kingdom of heaven. And we've already won the King of Kings, our Lord Jesus Christ. He's already won us, and we've already got him. And it's totally awesome. And we just have to remember that sometimes, that it all has already been won. Death has already lost. The devil's already lost. He's just trying to win again, trying to win against us. But we've already won if we're with Christ. We've already won the kingdom. And someday, if we keep the words of the live action Cinderella, you know what her mom says in here? The have courage and be kind. If we act like that, if we have courage and we are kind, one day we will attain the joys of the kingdom of heaven. Think of that for a little bit. Have courage and be kind. Have courage and be kind.